Yeah.
Welcome to today's Texas Coaches to Coaches. Today we have Mihai Oprea from St. Mark's Prep and Trident Water Polo, and he also I think helps with the Pegasus group as well. So, Mihai, kind of how are you doing today? Good.
Doing great. Thank you.
Okay, good. So, yeah, Mihai today is going to talk about shooting. A little bit of background, kind of on Mihai. Um, he grew up in Romania. He played for the national team for several years there. He played professionally in Holland. He came to the United States in 1991, up in the Dallas kind of area. He started coaching with the Dallas Water Polo Club, kind of which is a masters team up here. And then he started coaching St. Mark's in 1996, and he's been there for almost 25 years. Right, and he's won 6 state championships, and he's had some of the best shooters kind of out there, and he's also won 5 out of the last 6 state championships as well. So, Mihai, I appreciate you being here. This is your bread and butter. We're talking about shooting today. So, again, everybody that's out there, if you have any questions, please kind of unmute yourself, ask in the chat feature. We're going to do it a little bit different today. I'm going to ask Mihai some questions back and forth. Please feel free to kind of chip in questions kind of out there. But Mihai, again, we're talking about shooting. This is what you're known for. Kind of, what is your overall philosophy of shooting and such?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for doing this. I think those are great. Sharing information with coaches is one of my pet peeves. I think one of the worst things we do in water polo is try to keep secrets. That's kind of like old school, when coaches don't want to share, don't want to see, anybody, let's see what they're doing. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate, this openness when coaches can come and share the knowledge. So first of all, thank you for doing that. And I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate everybody's time to be here, and hopefully you'll have a good time, just participating. So, and thank you for allowing this type of setting with more questions and stuff. Since I don't have a presentation, I'm not very good at charts and stuff like that. So, what can I tell you about philosophy of shooting? I think I look at shooting as an art. I think it's an art of shooting. Obviously, it takes time to develop. It has to be done right from early ages, and we need to know exactly what we can work with the kids at ages. We know that we need to work first on coordination between 8 and 11 years old. Then we're moving on to flexibility. And then from 10 to 14, we're starting on endurance and specific skills, which could be passing and leg technique and all that. So we have to make sure that we don't start too early. First, kids have to learn how to throw, and then they have to, it's kind of like learn how to crawl. I call it is the throwing, just throw anything. Throw a rock, go in the park with your dad and throw a baseball, throw, okay? And then you start more into the shooting. Shooting is not throwing in my view. So, like I said, it's an art, and not everybody is born with a natural talent of being a natural shooter. There are many out there, but a lot of them, they're not that talented. They do it through work, and the most important part, I think, is the technique. So, if you're lucky to have a good coach, or coaching staff, or parents or whatever, to teach you the right technique, how to hold the ball, how to get your elbow in the right position, how to make sure that you're not squeezing the ball, because what's one of the things you see the most, and I blame that on the new balls. Everybody plays with new balls that stick to your head, so everybody's grasping and squeezing the ball like a rock. And Spencer knows, but we at St. Mark's, we have 2 bins of the worst balls possible you can find. They're like we call them soap. So they're just they're so slippery like slope. So we don't let the kids touch the new balls. So we start with the old balls that they can grip. So they have to learn how to balance the ball, how to turn the wrist and balance the ball, and then not squeeze the ball. So you have to work a lot on the technique of shooting. And And of course, that's a lot to talk about that. So the most important for me is the technique, the right age, how much you do it, and obviously repetition. Like anything else, you have to do it a lot, and do it with the right technique. And I believe under supervision, most of the time, if you can do it under supervision, is the best. I would say. So that's kind of, in big lines, kind of the philosophy of shooting.
So you mentioned the technique. So kind of what are the top 3 or 4 aspects of the technique? Legs, balance, the opposite hand, wrist.
All of that. So obviously, shooting, it's a final product of a lot of elements, right? So of course it starts with the legs, and we all know, we're all water polo players, that you can play these sports without legs. Yeah, you can play it if you can swim, but also you cannot play it if you don't have the legs. And that's one of the things that I believe we don't pay a lot of attention. We work a lot on swimming, we work about on a lot of things, but we don't develop enough the legs. So, and I'm not saying the legs just in one spot, holding 40 pounds above your head. I'm talking about legs, different situations, like moving over the hips, changing, just all kind of, the legs is so complex, but it does starts with the legs. And then again, one thing that I think a lot of people don't think about much is the core strength, because that's the connection between your legs and your shoulder and your arm. It's the core. So if you don't develop a strong core, and I'm not talking about just the six-pack that kids like to have, it's not just that, it's your back, it's everything, it's everything, because you have to put everything in the shot. Okay. And then why the legs? Because if you think about a power shot, you have to get out of the water as much as you can, because you think about, I would say, like up to 35% of the power of the shot comes from your torso. And if the torso is not out of the water, you're not going to have the power. Okay. So yes, legs transfer to the core, transfer into your arm. And now we're talking about a lot of things about mobility in the shoulder. Okay. How far back can you bring the ball holding in the right position, right? How, can you keep your elbow up high and keep it back? Don't lead with the elbow. How can you, just use your leverage? Talking about like Spencer, who's 6'7", or, he has long arms. I have short arms. So, how do you use that leverage? But then again, is the final part, which is your forearm and your wrist. So the wrist transfer, again, 13 to 15% of the shot comes from the wrist. Okay. And if you don't develop your forearm, and if you don't develop the wrist, the flexibility of the wrist, the power of the wrist, and then there's the explosiveness comes from your forearm and your wrist. And you have to develop that. Okay. And obviously there are tons of exercises you can do, but the most important is like stay with the kids and correct them and be on them all the time. And, turn your wrist, finish up, don't finish, here, follow through. Okay. Body forward, not leaning back. So, that's kind of like the technique, that you're asking about. I mean, that's, again, it's broad. Okay. So we can talk about it for hours.
Of course. Now, say a kid comes in 6th grade, 7th grade, and he can swim a little bit and he can tread water. What are you going to do with that? Like that brand new athlete that first week? How do you start them out? This is a water polo ball, and then go from there.
Well, again, you don't put a lot of pressure on kids. If you want to keep them in the sport,
of course,
you don't want to kill them from the very beginning and show them how tough this sport is, right? Let me show you how tough we are here. But you want to just make sure that he can be successful in what he does. So again, it's paying attention, explaining why you do it, what's the result, okay, why I want you to keep this race this way and not squeeze the ball, right? Explain to the kid, get him on dry land first, okay? And see how he holds the ball, how he passes the ball, pass with him, have him kind of pass, get on one knee and see how he passed the ball, have him stand up and see how he, throw the ball against the wall. And then start explaining to the kid, get him in the water. Now, if he doesn't have the leg support, okay, then you have to help him out. You can do it in the shallow end, you can do it on dry land. So you have to give him homework. He has to do it at home. If he cannot do it in an hour and a half, 2 hours of your practice. He has to have the passion. To me, shooting is the best part of our sport, I think. Okay, like I said, it's an art. So you have to develop you have to be a Michelangelo. You have to, you want to be that guy. Okay, so it takes time. All right, so you go at home and you do stuff at home. I tell my kids, just if you watch TV, have a ball in your hand and then play with it all the time. Go to a wall and throw it 500 times and take a little break and do it another 1,000 times. And just always, as much as you can, work on your technique, okay, and work on having the ball in your hand. And of course, it does, with age, you can have heavier balls, you can work with bands, you can work with a lot of other things that you can use for developing a good pass. But what we tell the kids in our program is that shooting is passing. So first is passing. And passing, I tell the kids, and then again, that's my opinion, and nobody has to agree with me. In my opinion, passing is the most important skill in our sport, to me, by far. So we spend time on passing, because if you're not a great passer, you'll never be a great shooter. I tell the kids, okay, if you're a good passer, you'll be a good shooter. But if you want to be a great shooter, you got to be a great passer. That's what it starts. So we spend a lot of time and attention and discipline in passing. For us, passing, it used to be we do all the stuff and then the ball is in and start passing and kids start talking and having fun and then we stop and say, get over here. So you work your asses so much, and now this is the most important part of our game. Nothing more important than this, and you start talking. So if you come to our same arts practice, passing is silent. Nobody talks, because we want to hear how the ball hits the hand. Is it coming with, can we hear a slap, or is like soft? We need to teach soft hands, right? If they're talking, we can't hear. So it's all silent, it's all soft, it's all slow, wide range of motion, warming up the shoulder. Again, another pet peeve that we have, and we never ever pass or jump or do anything hard on the legs in the first 20 to 30 minutes. For us, 20 to 30 minutes, it's warm up. So yes, that's a lot of time of your practice. I know coaches are going to say, what the hell, 30 minutes, and then what do we do? No, it's all about health. If you go in there and after, you've seen kids, they go swim a lap and then they start doing legs and want to pass. And then they get injured. And that's it. So 20, 30 minutes of warm up, then it's passing. And the passing, it's taboo for us, okay? It's like religion. So from there we start, and that's how you develop shooting. So go ahead.
So like there was a question in the chat, was at what age kind of would you start kind of using the weighted balls?
Well, that's a good question. And again, it depends on the individual. It depends on how long that kid has been in practice, how strong he is. But I would not use heavy balls under 14 years old whatsoever. It doesn't matter how strong how strong that kid is. I would stay away from heavy balls. Okay, so maybe the 1 kilo under supervision, but not a lot of throwing it, not even with 1 kilos. After 14, when you can start working on other stuff and the kids are more strong, then you can start introducing the heavy balls, the 1 kilo. Then, of course, for training, you can do the 3 kilo ball on 2 hands and all kinds of drills.
Yeah,
but I would say not under 14.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, and this is of course what they're learning with the 12s and the 14s is it's not really just the strength, but it's also the technique, because you can have the strength if you don't have the proper technique or the mental capacity to focus on it. The weighted balls are going to do even worse damage.
Of course, of course, it has to. I mean, everything starts from technique. That's why I work on passing. So what people think passing, shooting, they're two different things. We don't think that. We start shooting when we start passing. So start with the passing, and if we spend 20 minutes, 25 minutes on passing, right? That's still shooting. So
expecting the war, fly away from her reach, so he ran away in her sleep.
Are you there?
I'm here. I just muted the person. So we
Okay,
have a little,
Time she closed her eyes.
that was this guy.
yeah, he can himself.
Anyway,
Well, I guess our little coach to coaches are famous enough that we actually are getting people to come on here and do a little bit of
Hola.
so I'm going to remove this person real quick. There you go.
okay.
Sorry about that, but now, so I mean, like obviously as you teach the shooting and such, as you go back and forth, I mean, so that first kid that first week all the way up to your better kind of the 18s and the 16s. So what are the major kind of progression steps between that brand new kid and all the way up to your more experienced kid?
Well, again, we talk about, and again, I'm going to go back to passing. There's so many things, so many shots that, as we know, it's just static shots that you're in one spot and you shoot. They're movement shots with the ball, or movement shots without the ball, and breaking the zone with the ball sideways, or driving and catching the ball, or driving inside water shots. Or they have the center shots. They have all this kind of shots. So you have to have a way to teach the kids all of them. So they need to be efficient in all the shots. So we always start from lowest to more complicated. So it doesn't matter even with our top guys. We never start like 100% something. We warm up. For example, we always have 4 minutes of warm up passing. They do it on their own. And then we start going in and we have our theme and we tell the kids what we want from them. And then we build it from there. So from easy to complicated. And of course, the higher their knowledge is, we do more complicated stuff. And we can introduce a lot of harder shots, from more movement, more complicated movement, from all kind of tactical, whatever you want to do with them, screens, blocks, whatever you want to do. Inside water, turning your legs, shoot from the wrist. So again, it's a progression and it depends on who you have. We're trying to keep our top guys. Our goal is to never have more than 4 people shoot at a time. So I believe that 4 people shooting at the goal is the perfect number. So never 5 or 6, that's too much, okay? So you have to break your practice and in the pull, let's say, marks, what we can do with it. So we have to have groups, and I have the top 4 guys shooting together, so they have to be there with the best goalie, because they have to shoot at the best goalie. They have to play together. Then the next 4, so we do it this way. And obviously you have to pay attention to all of them. And even when we get to your bottom, you still have to have coaching, and you have a coach with them and explain what you want to do from them. And not all of them can do the same thing, right? So you have your top 4 and you can start building drills and make it more complicated, harder. That requires a lot of technique and strength and stuff. And then you can have the same thing with your 3rd or 4th group, 4. So again, it's a progression. I think it's kind of a logical progression. And obviously it takes time, and you need to know your kids and you need to know what they can do. A lot of coaches ask kids to do stuff without teaching them, or without spending enough time to do that skill. For example, one of the things that I hate the most is 6-on-5. And kids ask me, when are we going to do 6-on-5? I said, when you learn how to pass, because otherwise it's a waste of time. And trust me, I have kids that can pass, but not the way I want. So we don't practice 6-on-5. You probably know we're not very good at 6-on-5. Why? My fault, because I don't let them do it. Because why would I waste time on 6-on-5 when they can catch a pass? So we do other stuff. And one day they're good enough, then we play some 6-on-5. But I refuse to let them play 6-on-5. Okay. So it's about raising the bar on passing. To me, that's the key.
Yeah, well, that also teaches that one kid that is the best shooter on the team to actually pass. Because
Right.
with the high school kids, they don't like to pass a whole lot.
Sure, of course.
So because they see that little opening and they go, I'm going to make this. So,
Of course.
And,
course.
and if anybody gets anything out of this talk, it's passing is the most important thing.
I think so. I think if you want to spend your most passion and patience, it's on passing. Okay, it's no other thing. And then obviously when you go to shooting, you kind of have this is where the fine line is, because you're gonna get kids that want to shoot all the time, and you're gonna have kids that'll be afraid to shoot, and you have to always talk to them about confidence. And you can't smother the kids that want to shoot all the time. You have to deal with them and kind of have patience. Like I have a kid, Leo, that used to, a year ago, he would shoot everything. Doesn't matter what he was, the masters, he would shoot everything, and almost got killed by the old guys, right? But me as a coach, I don't want to kill that, right? I don't want to tell Leo, don't shoot anymore, right? Because he's a natural shooter. So you have to teach him, okay, here's the importance that when you have to shoot or when you have to make a pass and all that. And he's way better now. But again, it's the confidence that you want to instill in the kids, because you have, and traditionally, like Eastern European countries, like, Yugoslavia, Romania, you have this tendency that you go in a game and you take your first shot, you miss, you take your second shot, you miss, you're done shooting. You're done. You're not going to shoot again. So you have to get over that mentality. You're like, okay, you have to be a natural shooter. Okay, I'll shoot the third time, I'll shoot the fourth time. If it's me, the person that I need to shoot, and I don't make a tactical mistake, it's okay, right? So we never scream at our kids why you took the shot. We scream at why you took the shot if you're not in position to shoot, if you're not ready to shoot, right? But if you are the guy, who cares? Take the shot, right? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the problem is though is that kid that takes the wrong shot and it goes in.
well, yeah, and then, trust me, then I sit him next to Spencer. I said, Spencer, why don't you explain this kid what he just did?
Exactly. There you go.
Because he thinks he's so tough, and he just like ruined everything. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've mentioned a couple things about practice. Can you take us through a practice from as the kids arrive until, the kids leave, from, just stretching, warm up, talk, like passing, kind of how you structure the shooting, and then even skill work and scrimmaging? We already know you don't do a whole lot of 6-on-5, so.
We don't do a lot of 6-on-5. Well, the pool that we have doesn't help us anyway, so it's not really 6-on-5.
It looked like you've had to adjust and adapt a little bit. For all those that don't know, kind of Mihai's been practicing in a 25-yard shallow deep pool that's 6 lanes wide for the last 25 years. So there you go.
Yeah, not a great pool, but hey, we have a pool. So, but anyway, again, what I think, and my coaching staff, I think we believe in discipline. Okay, so I think discipline would make the difference. Right? We explain to our kids that, you go in a championship game, and you play a team that's just like you, that as good as you are, as trained as you are, in every position that's similar to you, who are going to win? The team that's more disciplined are going to win. All right? You have to instill discipline from the very beginning, and that's the hardest thing to do. But in the long run, that's what the kids love the most. Boys. I don't teach girls, right? So boys want discipline. They're pack animals, So it's hard at the beginning, but it pays all the dividends. So we're very disciplined in practice. Okay, the kids come in, they're serious about if we have a team meeting where they're ready to go. If not, they're ready to go, start stretching, and they do their routine. Mostly Coach Spencer is there and helps them out, but they're already trained. They're kind of on autopilot, and they do their warm up, and especially on bands. Every kid has a band, and they need to do at least 10 minutes of motricity and bands, right? And then they jump in, and we tell them, okay, you have 4 minutes or whatever we want, and you jump in and you can swim anything you want except butterfly and except breaststroke. So they're not allowed to do one breaststroke kick until we let them do it. So there is no butterfly and there is no breaststroke in our warm-up whatsoever. If a kid does that, I'm sending home. So,
Coach, can I jump in here real quick?
Yes, please. Yes.
So one thing I think is really important that we do at practice is the dry land warm-up that they do prior to getting in the pool is all done together, and it's always the same routine. And I think it really is important for them to get connected, and it's kind of a trigger for them to go, we're at practice, it's time to be serious. So I really think that's important, but I'll let Coach take over from here.
Yeah, no, that's true. So they do that, and then we look at them, and probably after 4 or 5 minutes, we take over, either Spencer or whoever is there or me, and we start running starting to warm up the legs. So to us, it's very important that the legs are warmed up. So we do around 15 minutes of warming up the legs. And how do we do it? It's basically with drills, with technique drills, with movement over the hips, all kind of leg drills that are not static. We're not doing static drills unless we do like a type of pendulum against the wall type of drill. Otherwise, it's all movement, okay? So from there, whatever we have, depending on the day, we might have conditioning, or we might go straight into groups. And one group does swimming with one coach, one group is working on passing or something like that, one group is shooting. But obviously, after we warm up passing, I already told you that we give them 4 or 5 minutes, they do the warm up. Then if it's a kind of a day that we do a lot of passing, we spend around 15 to 20 minutes on specific passing, with a lot of movement. Our kids, if you ask Spencer, any kid that you ask what water polo is movement, spacing, timing. Okay, that's all. If you ask any St. Mark's kids, tell me what's water polo: movement, spacing, timing. So we start with moving and work about spacing, creating space, understanding space, filling in space, which again is very hard at our pool, and then it's the timing, okay? And we work on different type of passes. And one big thing that we do, we tell them also that you cannot pass, even if it's static, you cannot pass the same pass all the time. You have to work. If I'm getting you, which is one spot, what can you change? Okay, you can change the level, right? So you can pass the water underneath your chin, or you can pass the water all the way out to your suit, right? So you can change the level. What else can you change? The intensity of the fake, right? I can do slow fakes, I can do fast fakes. We tell them, okay, I want you now to do 2 slow fakes followed by 3, followed by 1. And then I want you to do it on that time, change the level 3 times, okay? And they have to be creative. They have to, okay, I gave them a thing to do, but they have to be creative, okay? And then you put a movement in, because now what you can change your position. So now you're changing your position, you're changing the intensity, the timing, and then you're changing the level. So now you're much better passer, much better at the fakes, much better shooter, right? So always moving. And when you move, we work a lot in triangles. I believe in triangles. Water polo is triangles, okay? So all triangles. And if I'm moving, what you do? Watching me? No, you have to move and you have to come for the ball. It's kind of like soccer. We tell them, well, if somebody passed the ball, what are you doing? Wait for the ball? No, you run to get the ball, right? Same thing in water polo. Get out there, get to the ball. As soon as you get the ball, continue movement. Don't stop. Don't stop your legs, okay? So always moving. So we do that. Then we go again into different groups, sessions. And we don't ever have more than 4 people shooting. Okay, so we can have the space, and then we have different types of shot. We let them warm up the goalies. We talked about Alex, about what they want to do with the goalies. And then it's a lot of movement, okay? We don't really like to shoot a lot from static. So it's more like movement without defense. And then we add some defense, with pressing defense. How do you get against pressing, V-outs and all that? And how you do against zone. How do you break the zone? How do you move to the right? How do you move to the left? And, so it's always movement, okay? And creativity. You're a coach. You have to be very creative. How? By trying to simulate game situation. If you're there to shoot for an hour, just like sitting on the ball, and when your turn comes, shoot, and you're going, hey, coach, I'm doing a great job because I'm getting on my legs when I shoot. Oh, okay. It's great. If you want to shoot a power shot, yeah, get up to your suit and shoot it as hard as you can. But that's the only shot. I mean, I tell the kids, you can shoot through the water to your chin and be an unbelievable shot. because it's deceptive, comes from the wrist, comes from a different level, different angle, so you have to learn all these shots. And then kids are not that creative, let me put it that way, with shots, right? So you have to tell them, really literally tell them, okay, I want you fake here, then move, then hezi. Well, okay, coach, how do we do hezi? Okay, well, let's try to work on that. So it's just trying to create it. But again, we do that in passing. So almost every passing drill that we do, it's created for the shooting what's coming up later. Okay, so they already work. So I can go back and say, hey, what we just did 5 minutes ago, you just did that, right? And it's the same thing, right? So don't do passing and then do totally different stuff. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, right? So that's kind of how it works. So, and then obviously, if we want to work on defense, we work a lot on defense. Okay, I probably, Spencer is probably more of an offensive player, being a lefty. I play center defense all my life, so I think the defense is the most important, right? So we work on defense because I get kids at St. Mark's that come from all different walks of life, and they're not very creative, and they're not very good at offense to begin with. So I'm like, where should I spend my time? It's more boring and it's harder to coach defense, but I'm going to pay more dividends. And then, obviously, it's the defensive part, which includes counterattack, because as we all know, counterattack is not offense, it's defense, right? So I'm perplexed when coaches, teach counterattack as offense. I mean, what's in your mind? This counterattack is defense, okay? So you put it that every time you counter, it comes from defense, okay? So our kids know that counterattack is defense, okay? And now you're moving on, and now if you go to offense, you go to offense, right? And whatever it's done is done. So we don't complicate offense too much. We make sure that we know pressing, we know zones, we know everything, and we know counter, okay? And that's the defense. And then whatever we do in offense, God help us, right? 6-on-5, forget about it, okay? 6-on-5 is for professional teams, not for high school kids. So that's what I think. So.
No, I completely agree, and I appreciate you taking us through a practice and such. Now, you say you only have about, in your pool, like you have about 20 kids practicing at one time, and then you can have a couple deep end goals, and then I assume you do station work, like you have the 4 or 5 kids on a goal here, and then you have some other kids doing some work on the other end.
Right. Yes, that's exactly right. So let's say we can put 2 goals in there across the width of the pool. Obviously, we run out of space, so it's very limited. Okay, so you can have 4 kids there, kind of emulating the position 4 or 2 or 3. It's very hard to do the 1 and the 5, obviously.
Yep.
So you have to kind of figure out what you do. Then you have another section, and sometimes we rope it off, that we do a lot of legs. But again, it's not just legs with the ball above the head. It's just a lot of movement across the pool, different techniques, different, And then you have the second section, the third section, the shallow end, which mostly Coach Spencer is killing them with swimming, sprints. And he can talk more with you about what sprints we do and how we do it. But we go for around 10 to 12 minutes, and then we rotate, okay? So everybody can get, but again, your top guys, because we split the first group is your top guys. And we do a little bit different with the top guys than what we do with the second group or the third group. But that's kind of what mostly we do. But if we do conditioning, and we do a lot of conditioning, it's it's on the length of the pool, and everybody does it, right? When we do our polo 200s, everybody does it. When we do everything, it's everybody. So when we do specific things, we go in sections.
So like everybody has their favorite drills. So what are your top kind of 1, 2, or 3 favorite little shooting drills?
Okay, so what we believe is that each kid has to develop maybe 1 or 2 signature shots, right? You can't teach the kids to be efficient and proficient in 10 shots, right? It depends on what position they play the foremost, right? If you have a center defender, what you're going to teach them the most is the power shot, right? Anything, all the famous center defenders are there. Because from Kashas to Vujazinovic to everybody, what is this? The power shot, right? And then who's shooting from 1, who's shooting from 5, right? So at 1, what do you want? You want a quick guy who could catch and shoot. You want kind of like a Tanya Azevedo type of thing, that he can cross and skip it high, top corner. You have to teach them, listen, develop a couple of good shots that you like, work on them, right? And be very good. So you are successful, I don't know, from 10 shots, you score 4 or 5, okay? But that's your shot. And yes, goalie, we're gonna learn about your shot, but you're gonna be so good at it, they'll not be able to block it, right? So, example, and I always give the example, is like Mihai Oprea that played for Croatia and Jug. And he was one of the best right-handers at position 4, right? And every goalie, I was asking the goalie, Frano Vican, who was the goalie for national team when I was coaching at Jug. And I said, Frano, how is it possible that he scores on you? Because you know exactly where he's shooting. And he said, he shoots so fast, so explosive, that I go there with 2 hands, but I'm too late, right? So every goalie in the world knew what Mihai Oprea was shooting, but they can't block it, right? Because he was so good at it, right? You look at Tony Azevedo when he played at 1 on 6 on 5 with cross, and he skips near post high. No goalie can block that if he gets so good at it, right? You look at the Spencer when he was playing. If he goes in and fakes and shoots cross cage, top corner, body, who's going to block that? But those are signature shots, right? So you have to teach the kids, hey, it's okay if you don't score, but work on your shot and make sure you know what you're shooting, right? Don't just get the ball and throw it at the cage, whatever, mindless, right? I want to shoot top corner over there. I don't give a crap if the goalie blocks it, right? But I shoot top corner, and that's what we're going to shoot, right? Or I'm going to work on fake. And how many times you tell the kids, Spencer, please, let's not start this, but how many times after fakes, why are you shooting near post? Okay, you heard me since 6th grade. After fake, shoot cross cage, right? It's not so difficult, right? So
that is that high school boy thing. They see that opening, coach. But I saw that. Yeah, but I saw it, coach. I saw it, coach.
Yeah. Well, you asked me about drills. I like a lot to shoot against zones. I hate pressing. I think pressing is so easy to teach, and it's so rudimentary, I think, when you just go press and now you're struggling to drive and get open. And now with the new rules, a little bit better, right? And hopefully we'll get the new rules. But, pressing is destroying the game. Okay. So zones more complicated, but how do you break the zones without driving all the time? How do you break the zones with passing and shooting? And that's the beauty of the sport, right? So we do a lot of stuff. Are we good on time?
Oh, yeah, we're good.
Okay. Good. So we do a lot of breaking the zone. We do a lot of, ball up, move to the right, swim, shoot, pass to the left. How do you go forward, backwards? How can you control the ball, control your body, stay on your legs, still be able to have the ball in a position you can pass or shoot all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Be ready. Don't ever make a pass or don't ever take a shot if you're not ready. So those are things that I like the most, right? And I like to put them in difficult situations that they have to be creative, okay? Movement, drive, cut, push, just seal off, go inside water, learn how to shoot from the post, learn how to shoot from inside water, learn how to shoot from outside, learn how to shoot from 1, learn how to shoot as a right-hander from 5 or 6 in 6 on 5, because how many teams have lefties or how many teams have good lefties? Because sometimes I'd rather put a right-hander than a lefty. Okay, because Spencer don't get offended, but most lefties, all they do, they get the ball, shoot as hard as they can near post. All right, and they don't play defense. Okay, it's like, well, somebody else play defense. So yeah, Spencer is laughing, but he doesn't like it. so but that's the lefties, So sometimes you might rather have a right-hander there that's smart and is a good passer, and he can make the passes across and can take a good shot. So you put them in situations like that, and always. Again, is game situation. As much as you can, game situation. What I mean by that, with defense, right? So you start with our defense, then you start with defense, and I told them, that's why I asked Sabrina last time, how do you start this drill? Because we always start with defense 70%, 60%, 70%. So we're successful, so the kids don't get frustrated because they can't do anything, because they fail a couple of times and they're done, right? So we start at 70%, that's successful, then we move it up to 80%, then we're like, okay, this is game situation now, right? And by that time, we already spent like 5 minutes on the drill. And even if they not succeed, that's still okay, right? So that's kind of what we do a lot.
Yeah. So does anybody have any questions for Coach Mihai?
Yeah, me, I have a question.
Yeah.
First, thanks so much for talking to us today. I really, really appreciate hearing your why behind a lot of these things. It's really been powerful to me. Thank you so much. My question to you is you're talking a lot about these technical ideas in terms of passing and base. How much are you focusing on, or how are you helping correct poor egg beater and breaststroke fundamentals in terms of like, what are some things that you teach your kids to focus on to help correct those issues?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you. I appreciate your time too, and it's good to see you. So you're talking about the breaststroke kick and egg beater kick?
Yeah.
Okay, so we do a lot of transitions. We have drills that we put the kids in a situation they have to change from breaststroke to egg beater. And you can start from the beginning. You can start, for example, and doing just maybe like go to the fundamental position, what we call proud, for like 5 yards, then get your arms above the head and do 3 breaststroke kicks vertical. And, so that's the change. And then you can do it, only 2 yards and 2 yards. And then we do some drills that we put them on the wall, and on the whistle, they have to change. And we tell them, okay, first whistle is freestyle, second whistle is egg beater. And we go faster and faster, so they learn the progression from freestyle to egg beater, then from freestyle to breaststroke, then from breaststroke to egg beater, and the egg beater to breaststroke. So all the changes on the whistle. Spencer does that a lot with them. And then you do it again on the length of the pool as much as you can, from changing from vertical to semi-vertical to 45 degrees, hands out, breaststroke kick, very difficult with breaststroke. Kick with body at 45 degrees, not vertical, not horizontal. That takes a lot of strength. We do a lot of spider, do spider with counter spins, with the spider in every position possible. We change from spider straight into breaststroke kick. So we just do a lot of drills that teach kids how to increase the RPM in the egg beater kick, because what it is, breaststroke kick, you go up, you go down, you go up, you go down. So we try to teach them to be very explosive, narrow, and quick. So it's not like, we actually have drills that we get them vertical, hands up, breaststroke kick, and we don't want to see them go up and down at all. And, it's very difficult. I don't know if you tried it, but it's really difficult, okay? So it has to be so fast, so narrow, that they're like, oh, no, what is that? You look like a goat, up and down, no. So it just, you challenge them, and you have to make it fun also. Lots of changes. We try every time our warm-up or so never be the same. We'll probably do the same drills, but in different order. And we need to get creative as coaches too. Just invent drills. You don't have to learn it from me. I don't have to learn it from Spencer, from Joe. I create stuff. I go there, I always write down the workout. Okay. But then I go there and I'm like, oh, I get inspired, and I'm like, let's do this, So we came up with a drill one time where I think was brilliant. I told them, I said, okay, let's do freestyle with backstroke kick. So they're all like, they're trying all kind of stuff, like, what the? I said, see, you're not the team. You don't think as a team, You only can do freestyle breaststroke kick. It's with 2 people. Right? One guy do freestyle, one guy's hold on you, do the backstroke kick. Just catch them with stuff like that. Break. Sometimes we do a lot of stuff with our legs. I see that they're tired or bored. We go like, okay, let's get, from right leg to left leg, from left leg to the, all kind of stuff, that's fun, but they work, so they never stop. They always work their legs. And it's the RPM. You asked me about the breaststroke and egg beater kick. It's always the transition from breast to egg beater, because they have a tendency to stop the legs. And it's really important to teach them that the legs go all the time. even if you don't swim, for example, you move lateral, waiting for the ball, they take a stroke and they do a breaststroke kick and then they stop, right? And they're in one spot. And I said, well, why do you stop? Well, you told me not to swim. I said, yeah, I told you not to swim, but I didn't tell you not to kick. So get your egg beater. They have to go RPM, high, just move your legs, and you move with the legs now, right? And then you might have to go and again in breaststroke kicks. So they have to be very efficient and strong on both. But again, don't let them do it in warm-up. Just warm them up first, spend a lot of time on warming them up, then the intensity. A lot of slides, a lot of lunges, a lot of, jumps and all kind of stuff, but get the legs ready, because otherwise the knees are bad, the hips are bad, and you're in it for life. I mean, it's just not worth it. But thank you for the question.
No, thank you. That was awesome.
Just to add on to that, a lot of things that coach does is that, talking about trying to fix technique, is that we talk a lot about range of motion, and as coaches talked about this a lot, is we start at a low intensity and build up with the changes between each stroke. And that seems to help. And always, again, verbal cues, talking about, well, your right leg's doing this, your left leg's doing that, in constant correction.
Yeah, thank you, Spencer. Another thing is you look at your players and you look at their athleticism, right? So you might see a guy that's not very athletic. You see him trying to play basketball or soccer, and you start laughing, right? But you think, well, this is not an athlete, but you don't know how good he can be in the water, right? It's just mind-boggling. And again, we're talking about the goalies. I think a lot of let's say not the mistakes, the overlooking what coaches do, they put in the goal the guy that is not athletic. It's like, well, this is my worst guy right here. Can't swim, can't do that, but he has decent legs. Well, why don't you be a goalie, right? And that's a mistake from the beginning, because your goalie has to be your best athlete, okay? The goalie, the center defender, and the center, they're the keys of your game. And if your worst guy is your goalie, you have no chance. You have no chance, to win anything without a good goalie, without a good center, got a good center defender. Then we go to the higher levels. You can't win without a lefty, okay? High school, you can still win without a lefty. I think college, but Olympics and stuff, forget about it. So you have to put your best, most talented guy in the goal. Try to convince him to be goalie, okay? And then the rest of it, like I said, you don't have to be that talented to be an unbelievable polo player or an unbelievable shooter, okay? So what can I say? Who we're talking a lot, Spencer, with Philip, was the Brazilian player.
Sorry, which guy?
The Brazilian player, what's his name? He's the best player in the world right now, I think. One of the best players in the world.
I'm drawing a blank. Hey Coach, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about hesitation, shooting, hezzies, and sort of kind of the importance of that in the game? And
yeah. Well, obviously you're talking about a little bit higher skill. I think when a player can throw a perfect pass, a no-look perfect pass, and he can throw a hesitation shot from the top, from top position. Now we're talking about a totally different level of player. We always tell the kids, it's like, hey, if you can come up on your legs and get almost up to your suit and have 2 or 3 pump fakes and then a hezzy shot, no goalie can block that whatsoever. Now you're a world-class player, okay? So we're talking about world-class. But you have to teach the hezzy, and without players are always a challenge, because they do it, but they really don't do it, So again, it's what does it start? It starts from control, it starts from coordination, it starts from legs, and it starts, you really have to be confident, okay? So you have to change the tempo of your fake, okay? Can't look the same. So if you go fake, then you stop, and then you shoot, Okay, you got to look at Varga. Okay, if you look at Dennis Varga, tell the kids, the best thing to do, get on YouTube and watch Dennis Varga shoot hesitation shots. Okay, and they have to have a visual of it, because you can keep telling them, yeah, you do this, you do that, but if they don't see it, they don't understand the technique of how to do it. So I think it's a harder skill to teach, and you cannot teach everybody. I work with kids in 24 years. I probably spent years of somebody trying to do the hezi and they can't do it. It's just no way. So it is complicated. It starts on dry land again. You have to get that ball at home and work on that hesitation for hours, and then try to do it in the pool, and try after practice to stay, and as much as you can do it on your own. It takes repetition, it takes time, it takes feedback, right? So you have to have a coach. If you don't have a coach, have a teammate. Hey, how did it look? Well, it looked like crap. I don't think it was a hezi, right? So it is a difficult, but I think it's one of the most deceptive types of fakes. I think, in my mind, after the high level, fake hezi, I don't know what else is more lethal than that. Obviously, the cross pass, catch and shoot, of course. But you as a player, if you can go up 3 pump fakes to your suit and then finish with a hezi, goodbye. That's the pinnacle, I think, of shooting. Okay. But again, just learn the hezi without being up to your suit first. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Spencer. Yeah, for asking. Yeah, because I was going to ask him to kind of describe his thoughts on the hezi, since he mentioned it kind of earlier. But every time that I walk on the pool deck at St. Mark's, there's always 3 or 4 kids in the water, kind of doing some sort of shooting game.
Yeah.
You have a ton of shooting games. So,
yeah.
And we all know about the 5 Alive and stuff like that. So, yeah, exactly. But so, what are your favorite shooting games? Yeah, to keep it fun for the kids.
Yeah, so obviously a lot of the times when they stay after practice, I don't want to interfere with them, okay? I'm just happy that they're there and I stay with them. No, Coach, can you stay? Yeah, I'll stay for another half an hour, whatever it is. So it's kind of difficult for me to tell them not to play 5 Alive, but I'm trying as much as I can to discourage playing that game. So be just more creative, right? One of my favorite shooting is 21 with the goalie, right? So it's the 3 shooters. Let's say there are 3 shooters against the goalie. So I score is a point for the shooters. Then Spencer comes, he shoots, he scores. That's 2-0, right? Then you come, you score is 3-0. Then I don't know, James comes, and of course he misses, and and then it's 1 for the goalie. So now it's 3-1, right? So James, I'm kidding, right? So so then we go up to 21, and that's very challenging because now the goalie gets really into it, right? He wants to beat the guys. I can beat 4 guys, right? And the 4 guys, how can a goalie beat us, right? So to me, it's one of the most challenging ones, right? We do that a lot. Of course, we play Panzarola, which is the #1 game for us, but it's hard to explain the rules. It's basically 2-on-2 across the pool, and both of you are shooters and goalies in the same time. It's #1 in Romania, it's #1 at St. Mark's. It's just that's our best game if we can do it. But there are only 4 people that can play, right? And then we have another game that we don't even need a goalie, right? So we tell them you shoot, and if you go post in, it's 5 points. If you go nothing but net, it's 1 point. If you go the crossbar in, it's 10 points. If you go the top corner crossbar in, it's 15 points. And we go first to 45 or something like that, or first to 60 or so. Take a chance, but now they think where they want to shoot, right? It's not just shooting as hard as you can at the cage, because they want to get the 15 points, right? So, and if you miss, if the ball goes, that's -1 point or -5 points. You put it that way. And you have the poor kids. How many points do you have after half an hour shooting? 6. How points do you have? -20. Okay, so that way it's not. So, those kind of games that we do. We don't really, I used to few years ago to use the sniper and do the sniper. I don't like the sniper that much. So, I do it either with the goalie or without the goalie. And again, we play, if we can't play Panzarola, we play Panzarola anytime. And Spencer and I, we haven't played in a while. So, so because you play 1-on-1 or 2-on-2. So, but that's kind of our favorite. I say you can invent so many games, and shooting is, you can shoot for hours and hours and hours. And we're talking about, and this is kind of like, I'm sorry I come up with this. You look at the difference between European shooters and American shooters. I don't want to put American shooters down because we had some really good shooters, right? But overall, I think the European shooters are better. Why? I keep asking that question. And I think it's the amount of time that these kids are in the water, the opportunities to keep shooting. Because, being, for example, in Dubrovnik, and I was talking to Elvis Fatovic, I'm like, hey guys, how do you guys get so good? And he said, well, all summer long, we're at the beach, we're in the water, and for 10 hours a day, we just shoot. We're in the water, keep shooting and having games and keep shooting. We don't go play computer games. We don't go, it's hours the whole summer long. You are every day, as long as daylight, you're in the water, either in the sea or in the pool, shooting. What else? You play soccer, you play team handball, you play basketball. All these guys are coming in, and most of them played a lot of other sports. So I don't know, you can get into that, but I think to develop shooter, you have to have more of a broad type of idea about shooting. You can't be just swimming and shoot polo. You kind of get out and play some soccer, play some team handball, play some basketball, play something, and then get in the water and just have fun. If you're passionate about shooting, And I was trying to tell Spence, but he couldn't remember. I was talking about Felipe Perone, which in my opinion, it's an old guy around, but he's still probably one of the top players and top shooters. And I was talking to him, and I was talking with his coach, and we're talking about talented people, right? So he, on dry land, all he can do is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's it. But if you watch him play soccer, you're gonna laugh. You're gonna bend over laughing because he's so uncoordinated, so bad on dry land. But then he's amazing in the water. Okay, so you can't judge people and say like, well, this isn't, it's an anti-talent. So you can be very anti-talent on dry land and be amazing in the water. But again, there are things that there's some like Sandro Sugno, for example, that's good on dry land, good on water. So.
Yeah, well, I just love how you are kind of willing to help stay after practice for kids that want to shoot, because I think that's huge, because the kids do love to shoot, and just give them a little bit of extra feedback. That is probably one of the primary reasons why your shooters are some of the best shooters in the state and the country as well. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, but yeah, you have to instill the love of shooting.
Yeah.
We believe that shooting is the pinnacle of our sport. Is the most fun, is the most rewarding, and why not do it? I mean, what's the point? Why are you working so hard? Why are you busting your butt if you're not, when it comes to shoot, you don't enjoy it, right?
Exactly. Any other questions for Mihai? Well, Mihai, thank you so much, for coming on. And for those that don't know, this past spring was Mihai's last season coaching high school water polo in Texas. He's moving back to Romania this summer. He's opening up his own health club and going to be starting his own water polo club there. And I wish Mihai the best of luck. He's been part of the solution here in Texas, and he's been so successful. You were going to be missed. I am very happy for you to go on to the next challenge, but it's going to be sad for water polo kind of in Texas. But I just want to say like a big thank you from deep down in my heart. So.
I appreciate that. I appreciate so much. You'll never know how much I appreciate everybody and the opportunities I had here. And, it's just, I'm a very lucky man, and I'm very grateful for everything. So, and again, it's the people around us that make us successful, and can't do it by yourself, so all my coaches and all the other coaches and everybody's involved, obviously you and everybody's from Dallas Water Polo Club, who basically they're the base of creating a junior program here with George and Frank and Houston, all these guys. I mean, without people, you can't be successful. So I appreciate your words, but I can't do it alone. So I was very lucky.
It takes a village. Yeah, for sure. But again, I appreciate you coming on. We have Coaches to Coaches on this upcoming Thursday as well with Jeff Chandler, and he's gonna be doing 6-on-5 offense. So just please I just encourage everyone kind of to anticipate. And then next week we have Tuesday, we have Jeff Passwater who's going to do set plays, and then Thursday is going to be Caitlin Kelly's going to be doing just the coaching women's water polo. So I appreciate everybody for coming on. Mihai, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.